Welcome back. Today we have some exciting news, and that is that Palantir has announced its date for their third quarter earnings of 2021, of course, and their conference call. So I'll get to that, and we're going to talk about the Say questions, which has, of course, coincided with this announcement. So today, October 26th, we have the announcement that the earnings call for Q3, the weighted earnings call, is happening on Tuesday, November 9th. I went back and looked to see if this is actually earlier or later than the prior earnings call for last year, which was actually the first time they had given an earnings call after going public, and it turns out both are the second week of November, so no meaningful change there. Prior to the open of the markets, as they have done with all previous earnings call, they're going to hold a conference call at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. That means they usually bring out the report. I forget exactly, but I think it might be around 7:15, 7:30 after the retail pre-market entrance at 7 or so. So they're going to have a live webcast. You can pre-register, which I actually need to do. But then I got distracted, dropped everything I was doing, and saw Say Technology questions. So let me open up that. It says the platform will be available until 24 hours prior to the call, the media relations contacts. But this is the big news. Palantir's earnings call is coming up, and it is happening in 2 weeks from today. So this video, of course, is to talk about the Say questions. And why are the Say questions important? Well, the Say questions are very important, and I'm sorry about the background audio if you hear anything there. I'm trying to keep this as quick of a video as I can and get it out as soon as I can, but here we are. This just went live. I'm not sure how long ago, but it is pretty recent. We have 13 questions now. I will do an ultimate recap of this later, so I will give credit to everyone else, but I want to talk about my questions just in this video, just to touch on it. So my question, and if you've been watching my videos, you of course knew what I was going to ask. What is the purpose of the recently filed shelf offering with its 3-year time frame? Is it a potential for acquisition or more capital for continuing current strategy of SPAC investments? Please comment on the issuance of shares and or warrants. So basically, we might not get an answer in all of that, but it would be great just to kind of put this out there. Hopefully it gets voted on, because I think this is literally the most important question of the quarter. We had this announcement and no explanation of it, so I really hope this gets voted to the top. Doesn't have to be my question. I was just one of the first, so I want this to get answered. And the reason I ask multiple parts to every question is because I want them to kind of be pushed to answer in these different capacities. So then we have, scrolling down, let's see, to my next question. Again, only 2 votes. Like, this is the very beginning. Please, I will leave the link in the description. Get out there and vote. Vote for whichever ones you like. Release your own questions. This is part of the process. It's so great that they're using Say Technologies. And if you'll recall, Robinhood actually bought Say Technologies. Not sure anything has changed, but just to put that out there. So I say, what is the thinking behind using debt versus equity to fund the business? Palantir has paid off all its debt, yet has consistent stock-based compensation. So basically I'm saying 0 debt, but full equity for funding the business, but also for, we all know what stock-based compensation is if you don't refer to a prior video. So I say, please explain the reasoning of this management decision. So basically, I want to hear why they're doing this. Their credit limit is significantly higher than it was at this point a year ago, and yet they've paid off all their debt. It's very interesting because startups are conventionally and traditionally the ones that carry high and that use equity to fund themselves. Palantir, sure, you can consider them a startup, but they're really, really beyond that point in a holistic point of view. So I want to hear their answer to that. I think that is another huge question, something that has been called into question in the last few months or so. So let's just see down to my last question, which has 1 vote. We'll see if that changes. I'm just messing. I don't care. I just want to see the best questions get asked and answered, of course. So I wasn't really sure what to put for a third question because I thought those first 2 are much more pressing. So I thought it would take the time to ask. We'll see. I'm kind of expecting this not to get voted very high, but again, we'll see. Say, how is the Foundry for Builders program progressing? What sort of response are you seeing from the initial 2 cohorts? Because if you'll recall, there are now 2 cohorts into this. And how long until any business can adopt this platform? So as I've talked about before, I really think Foundry for Builders is it will have, and it does right now, but it's still growing and at a very early stage, have some huge network effects. And I really think this is something special from the company. It's taking the magic of Foundry and bringing it down to these smaller companies. And it's really just something that needs, once unleashed, I think will really cause a big reckoning for the company, financially speaking. Of course, we're a long way away from that, but I do want to hear what they have to say there. But basically, those are my questions for Palantir. You know what? I'll just go ahead and read some of these other questions that have started to come in, and I will just see what other people are asking. Are there any plans for an individual consumer product in the future? If so, what can you tell us about it? Now, of course, they're not going to comment on a consumer product, I should say, in the future. They would not comment on that unless they're ready to make an announcement. I will vote for this question. I just want to wait for more questions to come through before I place my votes. But basically, I am half expecting Palantir to announce a new product or a new subset of a product, I'd say, with Karp kind of hinting at that. But again, he could have just been really being loose with his words when he was speaking in German in that interview. Do you have other $1 billion contracts like the latest U.S. Army one on your pipeline right now? Now, I laugh at this question, and I haven't read these yet, because, again, this is not something they're going to just openly comment on. It would be great if they're able to provide color, but these are these sort of announcements that you can't really just come out and say, and you have to be very careful about what you are saying, so you have to just let the financial statements speak for themselves, or if an announcement really is ready to be made, it can be made. This one looks interesting. Gotham and Foundry can be used on personal computers, tablets, and smartphones. Can Palantir's platforms be used on AR/VR devices? How impactful will AR/VR be and the metaverse for Palantir, its clients, and big data analytics? Now, that's a very interesting question. Not sure, however, that it deserves to take up space from stuff that actually impacts the business, that would help us get a better understanding of where Palantir is today. Sure, it's exciting. Sure, it's under the retail segment of this Q&A, but I don't know if we should be upvoting this one. Great question by Daniel. It would be nice to hear, but again, perhaps something we should hold off on, or maybe they'll choose to answer it anyway. Does Palantir view any other AI company as competitors? C3 AI, Snow, if that makes Palantir's platforms the better choice, and why not, if not? So I feel like they've addressed this before. I can't recall exactly which earnings call it was, but I feel like they've talked about competition. I think it might have actually been the last one, with Sham came out swinging. He was like, Palantir's the only one that can do what we do and do it the way that we do it. I'm not sure if they're going to be answering this. If they do, of course, it'd be great to hear more about it. But it's really about Palantir. What we need to know from them is they need to prove themselves. They need to prove their platforms. They need to prove that they actually have a place in the market. And it's not because other companies are doing what they're doing. It's exactly the opposite. And we need to see that what they're doing, their business model, really can make it into one of the biggest companies in the world. Hopefully that is the bull case, of course. Do you intend to make a profit in the near future? They've talked about this before. Not sure they would have anything different to say on that. Refer to a prior earnings call if you missed that. With privacy becoming more at the forefront of people's minds, does Palantir have a plan to expand into other industries where privacy is not being taken as seriously as it should be? Palantir's view on privacy is that they don't want to be liable, so to speak, for what their computers are processing, their platform, I should say, is actually processing. They're just going to do the processing. They're going to get you the answers. They're not going to look at it. And that's what they do. So I don't know if really whatever this person's thinking of would translate, but again, software engineers really could make anything happen. So not really sure where that question is going. And then we've just got a few left here. What are the 5-year projections plans for Palantir in the public sector? Now, I would like to hear more about the $4 billion by 2025. The guidance is what we need. To get us a better idea. So I like that question. I will vote that one in the future. What is the current book of business run rate? That's a pretty good one. I'm not sure if the financial statements will actually mention that or if they bring that up in the reports. Will there be changes to stock-based compensation? That wouldn't actually be a bad thing to check in on. Not a very big deal though. When will the stock-based compensation end or at a minimum start decreasing? I've talked about this before. This kind of goes back to the last question. I'm not sure it is going to decrease at any time in the future. Unfortunately, with more and more employees, of course, they're going to be getting stock-based compensation as well. Are there any plans to enter the restaurant industry? Joseph, where are you? What planet are you on? No disrespect, but what? Might be the funniest thing I've read all day. Will there be any large gold purchases in the next quarter? Is Aaron trying to front run gold? I don't get it. They're going to do what they're going to do. Not sure that's worth a question. Jessica asks, what are your potential perspective within sales for next year? So basically sales for next year, guidance of sales for next year. Palantir will not give that. And if they did, I would be very happy, but I don't think they're really a company that wants to kind of guide a lot. They'll talk about their CARP's 4-year guidance goal or 5-year, I forget exactly when they started it, but $4 billion by 2025 is a modest growth rate at best. And they will point you towards that. And that is very conservative, so hopefully they'll be able to beat it in all capacities. So wrapping this up, November 9th, 8 a.m., I will be live. I will be streaming this. I will come on. I'm going to analyze the earnings call, of course. But before that, the actual earnings report, I will be live for that for the first time ever. And I'm very much trying to make that happen. I very much hope I will be able to make that happen. But it should be a very exciting day. Cannot wait for this. And I think all Palantir shareholders are looking forward to it. So until next time.